Hi, I'm Bart Hansen. I'm the owner and lead instructor for CrushLivePoker.com. The following hand comes from our call-in show that we record at 4:45 p.m. Pacific Time every Monday. If you want to call in your hand, check out the instructions in the video description.
From what I've seen, he seems like a decent, sticky opponent is how I would peg him so far.
Okay, cool.
Anyway, so I get ace king of hearts under the gun +1.
Okay.
And I raise to 20.
So you have ace king of hearts too. Okay. 20.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Dylan 1 thinks for a little bit, the older guy, and he 3-bets to 45. So he basically min-clicks it up.
From like +2? Is that right?
From hijack.
Okay.
So then Dylan 2 calls on the button,
Mm-hmm.
and the small and big blind call. And 99% of the time, I'm going to 4-bet here. What has me concerned, and that's why I kind of want your opinion on this, the older gentleman, every time that he's 3-bet in this session, this is the 4th time he's done it, he always made it 3x the original raise. So on 20, he's making it 60. 25, he's making it 75. So when he min-clicked, and that moment, I'm thinking he's incredibly strong. He did this differently, and so I'm thinking there's all this dead money in there. I obviously don't want to see this 5-handed, but I don't know what I can 4-bet. And like I said, because he's going to 5-bet jam, and whatever I 4-bet, I'm going to be pot committed, I'm thinking.
Well, yeah, you're definitely going to be pot committed. I mean, I remember when you emailed this hand because I think it's interesting what happens post-flop, but definitely pre-flop too. But I mean, this is kind of like a math scenario, right? Like one of these spots where a lot of these tournament guys like sort of have the math kind of figured out. I honestly think that there's too much money in there for you not to 4-bet. I mean, you could make, I mean, usually, you know, we've talked about this quite a bit on Top Section, that, you know, thinking about constructing a 4-betting sort of ranges is that kings are not always 4-bet when heads up. So in a very extreme scenario, if it's heads up, you know, you're always 4-betting aces, some bluffs, and ace king suited. Has to do with the way that the combinations of hands, and then do a fair amount of calling with ace king off. But that stuff kind of goes out the window, especially when you've got a bunch of other callers in here too. There's just so much dead money out there. I mean, you made it 20, 45 from the hijack, button call, small blind calls, big blind also calls. So 4 times 45 is 180. You have 20 in there. There's 200 in dead money out there anyway. So you have 560 left. You have a $200 overlay here, basically, right? I mean, you can't always just say that the villain's going to have aces and kings here, especially when you have ace-king suited. If you can get a fold from jacks or queens here, or sometimes possibly get a fold from the same hand, like an ace-king, or who knows? I mean, even like tens. I mean, I know you're saying you don't think that you thought that the small raise has a lot of strength. I just think that there's way too much dead money out here to not really re-raise here. And I think the play is actually just to, well, you have V2 covered. Okay, I was going to say the play would have been just to move V1 all in. But just in case that V2 isn't doing anything like, you know, super crazy, you just sort of, you know, you make it like 350 to 400 or something like that. If you had 580 effective, I would just shove, obviously. But you've got obviously other people in the hand. They're a little bit deeper. So I think that shoving is kind of a little bit off. But that's the idea, though, because you're not. But I would definitely 4-bet, especially ace-king suited here. With the dead money out there. But sounds to me like you just called. Is that right?
Yeah, I think I did the worst. But yeah, I decided to take this 5 ways to the flop. So I just called.
Okay.
So 225 in the middle. The flop is ace of diamonds, 10 of spades, 9 of spades.
And how big did you say the pot was?
225.
225. Okay. So he's got about 2 pot sides bets left, something like that. All right. So ace, 10, 9, 2 spades. Pretty good flop for you, obviously. Yep.
Small blind and big blind check. I played the pre-flop passively, so I figured I would let the initial raiser see what he did. So I check here. And he bets 250. So he bets just over the pot. Basically
wow.
A pot size bet.
Hijack bets 250. So over the pot. Yeah. Okay. Yep.
So villain 1's thinking for a little bit, and he then asks the older gentleman, how much he has back, or basically asked him to move his hands.
Well, we get confused
So
with the villain numbers. You're talking about the button, right? You had said that
yes,
that was
I'm
villain
sorry.
too. No worries. So hijack, who's whatever the guy who three bet pre bets 250, and now
Yep.
you're saying the button with a 1K 1.1K stack says what to the old guy? How much do you have left?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, that was he had never asked before. I don't know if he couldn't see, and he decides just a flat call, and then the
Wow.
blinds fold, and so I'm here, and yeah, I'm in a spot. It's I don't
Whoa,
I have
this is
top
interesting. I mean,
here.
here's the thing. Like, I don't know. So you're concerned that the hijack is really strong based upon. I'm just going to try to think about this linearly or logically, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like from street to street. You're concerned about four betting the hijack because you think he's super strong when he basically
Min clicked it.
min clicks it, and now he's potting the flop, which really lends me to
Yeah.
think that like you're really only gonna be tied here at best. Like I would think that ace queen would be an easy fold here. I'm very concerned about the
Mm-hmm.
button flat calling. You don't have a backdoor heart draw. I mean, obviously, like, listen, like, if this was heads up and you checked and the guy bet 250, you would just get it in, right? But this is very,
Yeah,
very
absolutely.
concerning to me. Like, I could maybe just see folding here. I don't know. I mean, seems very, very. This definitely seems like it can be ace king, but the problem is, what does the button have that he three bet and then called? I feel like he might be trapping with something here. Um,
Yeah, there's just not that many hands I beat here.
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. I might fold. I mean, obviously, you're getting a price here of, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, well, you're getting like 3 or 4 to 1, right? Because he bet pot, so that's 2 to 1. You're getting 3 to 1 here, but then
Yeah.
you're going to be out of position. I assume the guy's just going to put it all in on the turn. Like I said, I think Ace Queen's an easy fold here. Ace King,
Mm-hmm.
no backdoor. Maybe if you had a backdoor, you consider calling. No backdoor, maybe you fold. I think it's pretty close here. I might fold. What did you do?
So yeah, I was. Those were the two things I thought of,
Yeah.
and I decide to appeal once here, and I call.
Okay.
So now we got 975 in the middle,
Yep.
and the turn is a queen of hearts. And
Queen of Hearts.
again, I think that's a terrible card. It
Yeah,
makes
I
things
mean, if the
even
button
worse
was
than they
calling off
are.
with Ace Queen, or this guy was, obviously playing Ace Queen, then now you're beat,
Hmm.
obviously.
Or even if he had decided if he had aces, kings, or queens, and he decided to get out
Oh,
of
that
line
would
with
be
kings
pretty.
or queens,
That would be pretty
he'd
crazy as a
stick
bet
it.
into 4 people. But he only has like
It'd be
300 or so, 300 left, right? So I assume you check
yeah,
now, right?
280.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I check, and the old man checks, and the button thinks about it for a little while. He has about nine. He has 850
Yeah.
back, and he bets 500.
500 into 975.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like this at all, man. That's such a strong bet by the button when you overcall the flop. I mean, what could he possibly have that you beat here? I guess occasionally the button might have like, I mean, I don't know. If the button is any type of player, he's not supposed to call with ace jack to 250 to a pot size bet. I don't know how these guys, but I think I would probably. I mean, you're going to be getting 3 to 1, but I just can't even envision a scenario. It's interesting, like if the button has like queen, like some sort of two pair or something like that. You picked up a gut shot, but you still have the guy
Mm-hmm.
left behind you to act. So even with ace king and a gut shot against two pairs, threes, it's probably still not the right price. This is very, very concerning to me, and I think I would probably fold now. I would say.
Yeah, so I thought about I tanked for a while, and
Yeah.
I ended up folding simply because I figured he wanted to get called in this spot. I mean, he could have easily jammed the turn, and it wasn't even a pot size bet.
Right.
It's like,
Right.
why did he bet 500 and leave himself 350 behind?
Right. Right.
That also seemed. And I figured at this point, the old man was pot committed, or he was in a spot. I mean, he bet 250, and he's only got 280 left. So I
I mean, the other
folded.
thing too. I mean, the other thing too about the button betting 500. I mean, he only now has like 400 left, right? Like for you,
Yeah,
this is pretty
exactly.
much like a check jam or fold. And so I would
Hmm.
basically treat the turn bet as like an all-in bet almost. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
yeah, like he bet
that's exactly what I
500,
thought.
but it's in essence betting like 800, right? Because he's
Yeah,
never
because there's no
folding.
way he's ever folding the
Right, and I
river.
don't know if you're going to have 33% equity against like what is in essence a pot-sized bet here, given this action on the turn. You know what I mean? Or
Hmm.
30% or whatever you needed. So you folded, okay?
So yeah, I folded.
Yep.
The old man begrudgingly throws the rest of his money in and says, I have to call.
Okay.
And he was kind of embarrassed. He flips over king king, so he way
Oh
overplayed
my. He
king.
bet 250 into four people with king
Yeah, I put
king
that in
on
my
ace
notes.
10 9.
I
Wow.
couldn't believe it.
All right.
Yeah.
And what
And
did
the
the
guy
button
on the
had?
button had ace jack. So the two hands I beat
Wow.
magically came up.
That's
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, here's the thing, like once in a great while this is going to happen, but I mean, I would say it's definitely not going to be 1 out of 3 times that you're going to be good here. You know what I mean? Which is
Yeah.
what you need. Um,
And I wasn't
I
happy
just
with
don't
how I
buy it.
played
Or
it
one
from
out of two
start to
times.
finish.
Yeah, yeah, 1 out of 2 times. Yeah, I just it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So would you have scooped the pot basically?
No, so the river came down a jack, so I would have chopped it with king king.
Oh my God. So King King wins.
Yeah, king king scooped it.
Again, I mean, it's just kind of interesting that you get into a scenario where even with the King King, I mean, Ace King suited is what, like maybe a 2-1 dog
Hmm.
against, against obviously King King. You've got such an overlay, but he has to have other hands besides. I just think that like against Queens, you've got an overlay. There might be some fold equity, Jacks, maybe even Ace King off when people call behind him. He might not want to put. I'm not talking about preflop. He might not want to put all his money in.
Hmm.
I think the play here is actually to four bet, and I think the flop is very close. I would probably fold, and I think the turn is I would definitely fold, and we just can't be
Okay.
like super results oriented with what ended up happening. I think you definitely made the right fold on the turn. Just because you have the best hand or happen to have the best hand doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be the best play, right?
Oh, I was shocked. There was no way I ever thought I was good there,
Yeah,
and I can't see if this comes up, 100 or more times if I ever would be. But
yeah.
I appreciate the analysis and for helping me get better. Thank you a
Sure.
lot.
No, no problem. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it. Hey guys, if you like what you've seen here, please click on the subscribe button and you'll get notified every time we put up a new video. And if you want to check out crushlivepoker.com for the first month free, use the code YTA200. Click on the link right there.